Hello. Give me 1 second. I forgot. Court in session. Court in session. So, you guys, today is the last day forever, I think. Okay, so today's closing argument day. So, that's what we're going to do. But before I get into that, I'm going to tell you to like this video so that, it circulates. And besides that, I'm also going to answer like one question because everyone has been asking me that. Like, who's going to win? Who's going to win? Who's going to win? My take on that is I truly don't know who's going to win. I have a strong feeling Amber Heard will win. But then again, it only takes like a few people disagreeing or even one, right? For the conclusion to be different, right? Or we may have a hang jury. Who knows? And by the way, if you don't know what that is, that's basically when there's no agreement or like it's the same and like there's an equal number of people saying yes, equal number of people saying no. But yeah, that's it. Let's get into this video. How do I even add it? There we go.
Next, remember the testimony about Mr. Depp being drunk on his yacht on the island in the Bahamas in 2013 when Mr. Depp looked a little scary by the way his body fell into the water, and Lily Rose, his daughter, started to cry. Ms. Heard comforted Lily Rose, and then Depp accused Amber of making them aware of this, that he was drinking again, making his kids aware of this. And he slammed her up against the side wall of the bedroom, held her up by her neck, held her there for a second, and said, "I can fucking kill you, and you're an embarrassment." That's what he said. And then, do you remember what happened? Lily Rose and Amber helicoptered away from the island. And while Amber was in the helicopter with Lily Rose, Mr. Depp sends her this piece of poetry, calling her a lesbian camp counselor because she cared about his drinking and just ridiculing her.
That's not good. That's not good at all. Like, these people, this is why I said, I know that everybody was really upset with me when I was like, we can't be like, Johnny Depp was not abusive. Like, we can't actually say that. This is an example of abuse, right? Abuse does not have to be physical, right? Although I do understand that for this case, we're not dealing with whether he was psychologically abusive or verbally abusive. We're dealing with whether he was physically abusive, if that makes any sense. But that was not nice of him to say. But then again, that cannot be used as evidence to his violence, physical violence, because you actually need evidence of that to come to that conclusion. Okay. And if you are here, because I see some of you guys are here, leave me a comment. Say hi. Say hi, or else I'll get sad and I'll cry all day.
For trying to protect his daughter. Sickening. This text, let's fast forward a little bit to, actually before we talk about this is the Boston flight. Let's talk about the Moscow flight. The Moscow flight, when Mr. Depp and Amber, she said that was the one time she took ecstasy or MDMA with Mr. Depp, and she learned her lesson. When he hit her on the plane, when he threatened to break the flight attendant's wrist, and Miss Vasquez, again, just tried to tell you, oh, he always wore rings. Now, Miss Heard said almost all the time he did, or maybe sometimes when he didn't. And in the picture that she just showed you, PX 1248, you can take a look at that when you review the evidence. That's a picture taken in Moscow with no rings other than a wedding ring on his finger or some kind of ring. He's wearing one ring on his finger. And so in Mr. Depp's world, they're going to try to come at you either way. They say, well, he was wearing rings, but it didn't leave a mark on your face. And then they show you a picture where he wasn't wearing rings during that trip. So that's what happened in Moscow. On 2013, in London, Mr. Depp.
Why is it doing that? I have something to say about that aspect. I remember Amber Heard explicitly saying that he hit her with rings on, and they like kind of broke her lips open. Do you guys remember that video? I do understand that this is Moscow and this is a whole different incident, but it is true that maybe he wasn't wearing rings, and that's a good argument. Yeah, that's a good argument. It seems like Amber's team is doing good today. What's going on though?
Was in the plane. Of course he doesn't know what happened, but I will never do it again. My illness somehow crept up and grabbed me. I must get better. I love you and feel so bad for letting you down. And what his response has been throughout this trial to things like that is blaming Amber, saying he's just placating her. Is that carrying his burden of proof and showing that abuse hasn't happened even a single time? This is in the lead up to Australia. But before we get there, we can talk about January 25th in Tokyo at the premiere of Mordecai, where he did slam her up against the hallway wall, wailed on her, and he did get on her back in the closet. And what do they say? Look at her backless dress. She doesn't have any bruises. She testified herself that she was checking out pictures because she was concerned that there were. So now their theory is if there's no marks, it didn't happen. We all know that's not the case.
Yeah, I agree with him with this part. Like, I say this all the time. Like, people have different skin and people have different skin sensitivities, right? Some people's skin, you will hurt them and there'll be no evidence that you did. So yeah, again, I'm not even sure where they're at right now, but let's keep going.
February 2015, this is when they got married. The day they got married, you heard the testimony from Io Tillett, right? That where Mr. Depp told him, I can now punch her anytime I want and no one can do anything about it.
What? Did he actually say that?
A joke he made on his wedding day. Then we fast forward to Australia, where Miss Heard is flying from London, where she's filming the
I think for that part where they say like on their wedding day, blah blah blah, I think it's a good idea to show the picture of him with a black eye, because on their wedding, the day after or whatever date was, their honeymoon, whatever it was, I actually have pictures, but I don't know how fast I can find them. He had a black eye and she did not. Very many occasions where he had a black eye and she did not. But then the argument could be that maybe she covered it with a brisket, but then we could say that. But then where's the evidence for that? So, yeah.
Danish girl to see her new husband for the first time since their wedding. And these are excerpts from DX353. All at the bottom right one are in the days leading up to this, where he's on a drug-fueled bender. He's hanging out with Marilyn Manson. He's getting drugs from his assistants who are enablers. Again, there's a reason you didn't hear them testify in this trial. They're giving you drugs for...
I do not think that drug use is synonymous to violence. I don't think so. Could it make your likelihood of being violent obviously higher? Yes. But could we say that that is evidence that he was violent? No. We actually need evidence the same way that we got evidence for other things.
For days and days. And then the one on the bottom right, you'll remember, you've seen a couple times. This is after he chopped his finger off, when he says, need more cocaine and ecstasy. So, and no one, Miss Heard was in touch with his assistants, but no one told her the hornet's nest that she was walking into. And we all know what happened in Australia. We all know that Mr. Depp, she gets there, he pulls out a bag of MDMA, he took a handful. She didn't say he took 10 at a time. She did say he took 8 to 10 over the course of that period. The second day, Mr. Depp, who claims that Miss Heard refused to do a post-nup, calls Amber's domestic relations attorney, Michelle Mulrooney. You heard from her when he was drunk, and he fired her. And he told Amber for about the 25th time, she said, the only way out of this is death. I don't want a post-nup. And then she said she remembered him slamming up against the wall. And I won't go through, you remember her testimony from Australia. You remember her saying that he had her by the neck, squeezing her neck. You remember her saying that he threw her on the games table like a ping pong table. You remember seeing the pictures of that broken table. You remember her saying that at some point he had a broken bottle up against her face, and he told her that he'd carve up her face, that he was throwing bottles at her. He's throwing bottles one after another, and I could feel glass breaking behind me, and you've seen the evidence of that. And he was just over and over again smashing the phone into the wall, screaming at me as she watched it break into pieces. Now, she doesn't know how he lost his finger. She said that she saw him smash a phone to pieces, and you heard him get impeached the other day with his testimony from the UK, which was different from what he testified here, where he said he did smash a phone. And then they tried to put that picture in front of you with a desk phone and suggest that that was it. It's deception. They're trying to deceive you. And then you heard Ms. Heard testify that the next morning she found meat that he had left all over the house, but not before what happened before she went to bed that night. Where Ms. Heard testified, and I remember trying to get up and I was slipping on the glass. I was wanting to move. I felt this pressure in my pubic bone. I remember just not wanting to move because
Well, I have something to say about this part. I do think that the drug use, though, could cause lashing out and those actions that this lawyer is describing. For instance, that video where he was really upset and slamming stuff, it makes sense that, he probably did that slamming stuff. But again, slamming stuff is not evidence for the abuse, although you could say there's a correlation, right? Because if you're slamming stuff, what stops you from slamming the person? It's just a question.
Because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken.
We're discussing her.
This is the next morning. This is what he wrote with the bloody stump of his finger. And there's been testimony about what happened to cut the finger off, but frankly, it's irrelevant to your deliberations here. Amber could have chopped it off with an axe, and it has nothing to do with whether or not Mr. Depp abused her. But we all know she didn't. We all know that his fingers weren't curled, and someone was standing with a half-gallon vodka bottle from about where that canopy is and threw it, and it somehow managed to damage just the bottom of the finger and leave the nail fully intact. We all know that didn't happen. Mr. Depp knows it didn't happen. We'll see some evidence of that. But here, he writes about her ambition, starring Billy Bob and Easy Amber, who talked about controlling jealousy, talked about him not wanting her to act on. Hughes testified how that is a form of intimate partner abuse. Here he's writing on the mirror again, and they try to blame her and say that she wrote "Call Carly Simon." She didn't write that. Who was the lunatic in the house? Who was writing everywhere? There's no evidence she wrote that. She testified she doesn't even know who Carly Simon was until she was told. This is some of the evidence. Mr. Depp told you a couple different stories the other day about the evidence on the right. He claimed that was the handle of vodka between those two beer cans there. But then under cross-examination, he admitted it's not, that there's not enough glass on the floor, that there's no handle of vodka on the floor. But what there is in the picture on the right is evidence of when he was throwing bottles past Amber's head and breaking that plate glass window. More writing, more abuse on the right. Imagining having a painting area where you're drawing two canvases and you and your husband get in a fight, and while you are asleep that night, he takes the bloody stump of his finger and dips it in paint and destroys your paintings. Ladies and gentlemen, that's abuse. Good luck and be careful at the top. And this is a good chance to talk about Mr. Depp's controlling.
Yeah. I agree with what this lawyer said. Yes, that's abuse. Dipping your fingers in whatever painting and destroying her paintings is abuse, but then it's not domestic abuse. It's not the meat of the matter. It's not what we're here to discuss. We have already established that they are both abusive to each other, but they are not both violent to each other based on the evidence. And I'm not saying that I was there. Like I've said many videos, none of us were there in their marriage. None of us lived with them. So we do not know. All we do have is evidence, and evidence points to one of them being guilty and the other not being guilty. That's it. But you can't say that that's abusive. Yet that's not the kind of abuse that we're talking about. Like that's kind of like confusing to the jurors if you're saying that's abusive. And they also see that as abusive, but we're not just dealing with any kind of abuse. We're dealing with domestic violence. Yeah.
And jealous rage and his desire to control Amber's career. He didn't want her to act. As early as 2013, he tells his sister, I don't need actress bullshit and her fucking ambition. He tells her in this recording.
Damn. I want to hear that recording. Guys, Amber is so sad today. She looks really depressed. I feel bad for her.
I become jealous when you're doing movies. I become irrational and fucking crazy and weird. Out of his own mouth. This is some of the notes of Dr. Blaustein.
I guess.
His therapist called him self-destructive.
That would explain, if he actually said that, because they're saying right out of his own mouth, it explains why Amber was like, he was jealous of my career. And maybe she just worded it wrong. Maybe she did not mean that he was jealous of her career, like he wanted her career, but jealous in that sharing her with her career. Kind of like, I want you all to myself, I swear. If you get what I mean. Yeah.
Something about wait up to fight the devil. Jealous. And I know this is hard to read, but you can see jealous. You see paranoia, fear, envy. He wanted to control her. He wanted to own her. He didn't want her to have any career. And then he says things like, I have other uses for your throat, which do not include injury. No one who hasn't previously grabbed someone by the throat would write, which do not include injury. But we all know how Mr. Depp thinks along these lines, because you saw these two texts the other day that he sat on the stand and denied writing. And I'm not going to read them to you again.
Guys, okay, we need to address what's going on with Amber. What's going on? Amber seems really upset today. Amber seems more upset today than she has in the whole trial. And what do you guys think? Do you guys think it's like she's actually upset? She actually looks really upset. She looks way too upset. Like, I feel like, did Amber like watch my video where I was like if you want to cry and make it believable, you do have to like look down, like look away, not like right? But I feel bad. She seems really distraught today. And if she does have anxiety, that does look like, her anxiety is really acting up today. But again, she's Amber.
Vile writing you can imagine. He said, that's not my style. I wouldn't write like that. Of course he would. And he did. These are texts that he produced, that he gave to Amber and our team in this litigation, from him to his personal assistant, Stephen Duders. This is the way he thinks about women. This, not what you heard on the stand, that. It's disgusting. He admitted that he cut his finger off. This is evidence of him admitting to it to people other than Amber. I cut the top of my middle finger off. Says that to Dr. Kipper. Says again to Dr. Kipper. The bottom one he says to Nurse Velasquez.
I have a question. Y'all can indulge me. If you were a victim of abuse, right? And you were in love with a person that was causing this or doing this to you. If you were asked what happened to you, would you tell what actually happened to you, or would you lie about it in an effort to protect the person? Do what you will with that information, but it's a question that I'm posing for all of us. And all of y'all who are here not talking to me, no. Y'all are rude.
Body. I just chopped my finger off. But he does say it to Amber too. Remember, we played this one 4 times, and Mr. Depp denied that he was actually saying the day that I chopped my finger off. Let's hear it one more time.
I'm talking about Australia, the day that.
No, we're talking about Australia. Okay.
The day that I chopped my finger off. So let's fast forward to March 23rd, 2015. After just a few weeks in Australia, Mr. Depp has a finger injury, no doubt about that. He comes home. He gets what they call a soft cast on it, which you heard his treating physician and our experts say it doesn't have sides on it, but it's a hard plaster cast over the top of his finger that can be wielded like a club. And they got in an argument when Miss Heard discovered that he was having an affair with a woman named Rochelle that had been going on before the wedding, after the wedding, and she confronted him about that. No surprise there. They got in a huge argument.
There was cheating too.
At some point in the argument, he bolted up the stairs. Now, Travis McGivern claims that she threw a Red Bull can at him. She and Whitney Henriquez say that absolutely didn't happen. But even if you believe Mr. McGivern, at some point, Mr. Depp went up the stairs. He went to the fight. This is the man that claims he always wants to run, and this time he had his bodyguard with him. So he could have just walked out the door, but he runs up the stairs, and Miss Henriquez is standing on the precipice of the stairs. And Amber admitted that when she thought he was about to push her down the stairs, as he's grabbing at her and Amber with his free hand and trying to club them with the casted hand, that she said, "I punched him square in the face. I punched him square in the face." And they showed you a picture of the shiner that she had, that Mr. Depp had. Miss Heard doesn't deny that. They're trying to say she's the abuser for defending herself and her sister from this animal who's running at them. This person that they claim couldn't possibly have done this because he had a hurt finger. Yet he could have done this. This is what Mr. McGivern said was rearranging her closet. I don't know what you all...
But it doesn't want to pause. I have something to say about this. Let me explain myself. He just said that, oh my God, Amber punched him, obviously protecting her sister, blah, 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 blah. My only issue with that whole thing was the fact that Amber said something different 6 years prior. She said something else on the stand, and her sister also said something else. So there's 3 different testimony, like literally differing from each other, and their testimony is not consistent with each other, which I would imagine if this happened, you were all there, your positioning and all that would be really, really similar. Although I will acknowledge and understand that even the same experience, people can see it differently. But I don't know how you could see something such as she was about to fall down the stairs differently. Like if she's in the middle. You get me? And why are they calling him an animal? Damn, y'all gotta stay professional. This entire court hearing is funny because you have to be professional. You can't call people idiots, animals, stuff like that.
I'll do when you rearrange your closets, but I hope it doesn't look like this. This is throwing a clothing rack down the stairs. This is knocking this over. This is what he did to rearrange her closet with his hurt finger that he couldn't possibly have hit Miss Heard with, they claim. That in and of itself, that destruction of property, even if he hadn't hit her that night, that's abuse. Imagine being married to someone and walking on eggshells so thick that you don't know if you set them off, if that's what's...
Oh my God. I have something to say about this again. These are obviously closing arguments, right? This is the last day that they get to talk, right? Because the jurors are going to go deliberate. My only issue with this is that this is your closing argument. And this is the wording. He did this. And even though that's not physical abuse, it's abuse. So now you're literally just trying to find whatever looks like abuse just to make it stick. And I don't know if that's a good thing. And I don't know if that's good to do. Y'all, this live's only going to be 30 minutes and I'll be back later. But yeah.
It's going to happen. That's abuse. And it's disgusting.
But we're not dealing with that.
But sometimes he would apologize. He'd say, I can't express how sorry I am for having stooped so low as to have spewed such vicious untruths for the sole purpose of hurting you. Grievous error, shameful. So he went
Except
in these
they
cycles.
both hurt each other, guys.
He went in these cycles. She thought he could change for good. And when it was good, it was really good. But then sometimes things like December 15th came around, where she remembers him chasing her in the kitchen. She remembers him shoving her 2 or 3 times and sending her toppling over a Chase lounge and saying, do you really want to go again, tough guy? And she looked at him and he balled up his fist, leaned back, and headbutted her square in the nose. And pounded her head with the back of his fist so she couldn't breathe on that bed that we're going to see in a second, where she was suffocating in this pillow top. And she said, this is when I thought I was going to die. He's going to kill me, and he doesn't even know what he's doing because he's out of his mind. And these are the pictures that they claim. I don't know what they're claiming. I don't know if they're claiming she painted on the bruise. Oh, you weren't hurt badly enough, so therefore you're making it up. Look under her eye. And again, their theory is that all of this is a lie. All of this was some grand hoax. If this were a hoax, ladies and gentlemen, she'd have worse injuries than that. She'd really do it up. She took pictures as they existed when she could at the time of abuse. And yet Ms. Vasquez has the nerve to say, well, why didn't she videotape an incident of abuse? What, as she's being hit, she's supposed to somehow grab a video camera with one hand while she's defending herself with another hand? You heard her in one of the audio tapes talking about when she hit him as he was trying to barge at her and she got her feet caught under a door as he's coming after her. And of course, as Don Hughes testified to, victims, of course, of control like this, they do try to appease their abusive partner and apologize for things that aren't their fault. So as you're coming at me, Johnny, and you push a door into me and I have to hit you to get away, to protect myself, yeah, she did apologize for that because that's the cycle of violence. That's what victims do. Yet they continue to blame the victim.
That's true. That argument.
There's no evidence she painted on that bloody lip. And again, if we're talking about a hoax, the next day she went on James Corden and they say, well, you can't see any injury there, so it must not have been. She would have to be the dumbest person in the world to say, I'm going to commit an abuse hoax, but let's do it the day before I go on national television. Let's do it the day before. But you heard Melanie Iglesias, her makeup artist, testify in great detail. And I didn't even understand half the terms about makeup that she was using, but she testified in great detail about exactly what she did to cover up those bruises. The red lipstick that she put to cover up the busted lip. You heard the testimony of that from a neutral party who said exactly what she did. She talked about how she looked at the color wheel to neutralize the bruising. They claim it was just an accidental headbutt. Well, no accidental headbutt rips out hair. They claim, oh, Miss Heard somehow used a pocket knife to cut this portion of the bed out to stage this. Well, I don't know if that's a pocket knife or not, but the only testimony in this trial about a pocket knife is Whitney Henriquez saying that Mr. Depp carried a pocket knife in his pocket every day. We all know where that, if it is a pocket knife, where that came from.
He's doing good today, guys.
One of the most telling things about this incident is the text he sent to David Heard, Amber's dad, 2 weeks later, where he says, I meant to send this to you a week or so ago. I'm sending it to you now. And he says, I forget if it's a text or an email, but you can look at DX580. He says, yes, I fucked up and went too far in our fight. Because as a result of that fight and the bruises that all of her family saw, the family refused to go to the Bahamas with them for Christmas. The family refused to go to the Bahamas for Christmas, and on that trip to the island, Mr. Depp kept passing out, and every time he passed out, he would dump a glass of wine on Amber's lap, and she didn't like that, and she yelled at it. And because it was in front of his kids, he got up. This is the one where Tara Roberts took the video, but she didn't show you the closet, she didn't show you the bathroom, and Amber says, while holding my neck, this is in the closet, he said, I'll fucking kill you if you ever speak to me like that in front of my kids again because you embarrass me. And then he took her into the bathroom and she said, but this time he grabbed my vagina, shoved his fingers inside me, but through my bathing suit and held me there and asked me if I was so fucking tough. And then she ran out of the house. And to keep him away from her, that's when he claims, and she admits she threw something at him. She didn't know what it was. It's been testimony, it was a can of mineral spirits that she claimed that hit Mr. Depp. And Mr. Depp is somehow the victim in that encounter. Come on. We talk about the train ride to Asia. You saw the pictures taken before they got on the train ride, where Mr. Depp has the same shadowing under his eye that he does in the allegedly abusive picture. But in that picture, he held in that train ride, talk about a honeymoon, he held her up against the wall while she was trying to get his arms off her neck, and he was squeezing her neck against the railway car. And at some point, I pulled the lapel of his shirt, he rips the shirt off, and she woke up with the shirt around her neck and a giant knot.
Damn. I will say this. This closing testimony is strong. It's strong. It's very, very, very strong. I don't know if, what's her name, Elaine? But I think that he is doing a very good job with this closing testimony. Although our live's 30 minutes, we have reached that point. I will see you guys later today. You can leave a comment in the, I'll save the live. So just leave a comment and I'll answer the questions and we'll go over it later today. And don't forget to comment, subscribe. And for you guys that are here right now, please like this video, like it. And I guess, yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'll leave a comment on this live, what time we'll be going live later. But that's it. Bye.